Paul, yes, I was just looking at this Constitution of the United States. Yes. Now it says here in Article 4, each state to give credit to the public acts, etc., of every other state. Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state, and the Congress may by general laws prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved, and the effect thereof. Article 4, Section 1. Oh my gosh. You know this Article 4, I've mentioned it numerous times in other videos, but I just wondered how the full faith and credit shall be given to this state to the public acts of issuing fraudulent court orders. Yes, the fraud of the actual records, the judicial proceedings of me not having any due process, and the civil rights of my sons not being protected, and that the Congress has general laws prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved in the effect thereof. Now, let's say you wanted to prove that the judiciary of Clallam and Jefferson County is actually doing what the law requires, and I give to you a copy of the actual protection order. There's no signature of the petitioner. No, there's not. Is that the signature of the ex officio court clerk on my copy that was served on me in the public library of Sequim, Washington on August 15th of 2015? Why does Exhibit A not have the state seal, and how can it be omitted as evidence in a jury trial, where 11 days from now I have to go to a cell hearing to find out if I need restoration treatment? Now, I'm not saying you're violating Article 4, but there must be some sort of legislation that Congress has passed. They might not have the power to enforce it because it's not in one of those amendments that was passed after they had adopted the Bill of Rights. Yes. But let's say we took it back to the founding of the actual nation itself and looked at every one of the legislative acts of Congress in the Library of Congress. Do they have a copy of all of the actual legislation of Congress? And did any of those elected to the Senate or the House of Republicans, did they ever actually go over there to the Library of Congress and look what they did a couple hundred years ago? Because it says prove the legislation. It says prove. It says approve it. Yes. Shall be proved, and the effect thereof. Records and proceedings. Yes. Shall be proved, and the effect thereof. Now I know you're a judge in any state of the United States. You're a justice. And you happen to have knowledge that you decided to use the state court seal without the actual signature of the ex officio superior court clerk. Yeah. And then you issue a weapon surrender form where it is her actual signature, and I say, well, look at the difference between those two signatures. Yes. And then there was some coercion, some unnecessary influence on the actual court official. Yeah. And then you get a copy of it in another state, and you're like, well, let's prove the effect of fraud on the court. Yes. And then the fraud of the state. Yes. The fraud on the office of the presidency of the United States. But let's say Article 4 was violated, and you've been allowing for the full faith and credit of this nation's Constitution to enforce your protection order, where you said, well, we just can't fucking remove it. I said, well, I just found out they're playing football for Quilcene, and I can't go to a football game. I can't talk to them. Now, I've never attempted to contact my son since July 2nd of 2011, where Heidi made up a story and I had to do some parenting classes. You decided to employ her in Brennan, Washington, and then you thought that you'd have all three of my sons playing football for the Quilcene High School football team. And as a father, I don't know as I'd consent to that. I mean, let's say they removed the protection order because somebody in Congress wanted to prove the effect of issuing it. And I decide as a dad, I don't think they should. Now, exactly what parental consent do you need to play athletics? Because I would think there's a consent form someplace that, well, playing center for the football team could be dangerous. I myself played center when I was in junior high. Yes, I was a bigger guy in junior high. Yes, he was. And I know how dangerous football can be. I mean, as a father, I might say, well, what if you get a head injury? Yes, what if you break a foot? Now, it could be if you get me the consent forms of every athletic team in the United States. I'd like to know how many